Vittoria called me at 8:06 that morning. I remember the time because I was standing in my kitchen wearing one sock, arguing with my coffee machine, and trying to decide whether a protein bar from 3 months ago counted as breakfast if the wrapper still looked emotionally stable. My phone lit up on the counter. Vittoria. That was never casual. She did not call to chat. She did not call to ask how I was. She did not call because she missed the sound of my voice, though there were moments when I suspected she enjoyed making me wonder. I answered with the coffee machine, still hissing behind me. Good morning. It is not morning until you answer properly. I looked down at my one sock. This is as proper as I get before caffeine. A pause, then her voice, smooth and controlled as always. I have a client for you. Of course you do. She is difficult. You say that like it narrows the list. This one is famous. Famous difficult or rich difficult? Both. I closed my eyes. That is never a good combination. She needs portraits today. Today? Yes. Vittoria, people usually book portraits in advance. People usually know what they want before they ask for it. That was very Vittoria. A sentence that sounded simple until it opened a trapdoor underneath you. I leaned against the counter. Who is she? Vivienne Hart? I stopped. Even the coffee machines sounded quieter. Vivienne Hart was not just famous. She was old Hollywood famous in the modern way. Awards, scandals, magazine covers, long black cars outside hotels, interviews where she smiled like she had trained her emotions to sit with their hands folded. She had been everywhere for years. Then she disappeared. 7 years ago, a video leaked from the set of her last film. 32 seconds. Vivienne in a dressing room, crying so hard she could not stand, while someone off camera kept saying her name like a command. The internet had done what the internet does. It paused her pain, zoomed in, made jokes, made theories, made her face into a thing people owned. After that, she gave no interviews, allowed no close portraits, and appeared in public only under perfect lighting, from perfect angles, with perfect control. And now Vittoria wanted me to photograph her. I looked at my reflection in the microwave door. My hair was a red mess. My eyeliner from the night before had not survived with dignity. No, I said. Vittoria was quiet. That was worse than arguing. No, she repeated. She does not let people photograph her face. She does not let the wrong people photograph her face. That is a very dangerous distinction. I know. Why me? Because you keep walking into rooms with women who say no and hearing the question underneath. I did not answer. I hated when Vittoria did that, not because she was wrong, because she was too accurate. Dahlia, she said. There it was. My name. From Vittoria, my name always felt like a finger placed under my chin. She is not asking for beauty, Vittoria said. She has had too much of that. What is she asking for? That is what you are going to find out. I laughed once. Do you ever give useful briefs? All my briefs are useful. They are riddles with letterhead. Then solve this one. The address arrived while she was still on the phone. The Aurelia Theater, private entrance, 1 in the afternoon. I stared at the message. An old cinema? She owns it. Of course she does. She bought it after the scandal. Why? That is not in the file. Vittoria? Yes? What is in the file? A small pause. Then, do not mention the video. I stopped moving. I wasn't planning to. Good. Anything else? Yes. I heard paper move on her side of the call. Do not let her control every frame. That made me smile, despite myself. You are aware she is Vivienne Hart. Yes, you are aware she can probably buy my apartment building and turn it into a candle. Yes. And your advice is to not let her control the frame. My advice, Vittoria said, is to remember that women who control every frame usually fear the one they cannot. Then she hung up. No goodbye. Vittoria believed goodbyes were for people who had lost control of the ending. I spent the next hour packing my camera bag like I was preparing for a small emotional war. 2 lenses, backup body, extra batteries, memory cards, black blazer, white shirt, jeans that made me look more confident than I felt. By noon, I was in a car crossing the city under a sky the color of dirty pearl, trying not to watch old clips of Vivienne Hart on my phone. I failed. The first clip was from 14 years earlier. Vivienne on a red carpet, younger, radiant, dangerous. Someone asked what she wanted from her career. She looked directly into the camera and said, "To never be explained by someone smaller than me." I liked her immediately. That was inconvenient. The second clip was the leaked video. I closed it before it loaded. There were some doors you did not open, just because the internet had left them unlocked. The Aurelia Theater stood on a quiet street between a shuttered flower shop and a private members club with no sign outside. Its marquee was dark, gold letters missing in places, old posters framed behind glass. The kind of building that looked abandoned until you realized the brass handles had been polished that morning. A man in a black suit opened the side door before I touched the buzzer. "Miss Voss?" "That depends how bad the client is." His expression did not move. "Miss Hart is waiting." "So bad, then." He blinked once. I followed him inside. The lobby was dim and beautiful. Red carpet, dark wood, brass lamps, a chandelier hanging above us like a frozen firework. Everything smelled faintly of velvet and old rain. There were framed photographs on the walls. Vivienne in films. Vivienne at premieres. Vivienne smiling at people who no longer existed in her life. But the closer we moved toward the screening room, the fewer close-ups there were. By the time we reached the main hallway, every photograph showed her from a distance. Back turned, profile hidden, face half-shadowed. I noticed. The assistant noticed me noticing. He opened the door. "Miss Hart." The room beyond was enormous and almost empty. Rows of red seats, a white screen, a single standing lamp near the front, and Vivienne Hart, alone under the light. She was even more striking in person. Not younger than her age, not older either. She looked like a woman who had stopped allowing time to negotiate with her. Her black hair was cut just above her shoulders, smooth and severe. Her blouse was silk. Her trousers were sharp. Her mouth was red. Her eyes were dark green and tired, in a way makeup could not quite correct. She looked at me once, then at my camera. "Don't photograph my face." That was where the hook began. But it was not where the problem began. The problem began 5 minutes later, when a woman in a pale suit walked into the screening room without knocking. Vivienne's entire body changed, not visibly to anyone careless. But I saw it. Her shoulders locked. Her hand moved toward the back of a chair. Her mouth became perfect. The woman in the pale suit smiled. Viv. The nickname did not belong in the room. Vivienne looked at her. Clara. Clara Dane, director, producer, ex-wife. That took me 3 seconds to understand and half a second to wish I had not. Clara was beautiful in that smooth, poisonous way some people become beautiful after years of being forgiven. Blonde hair, expensive skin, a smile sharpened by legal agreements. She looked at me like I was furniture with a lens. You must be the photographer. I try. Her eyes moved over me. She did not like the joke. That made me like it more. Clara turned back to Vivienne. The board wants one clean image. That's all. Vivienne said nothing. No drama, no art piece, no strange shadows, no wounded actress mythology. Vivienne's face did not move, but her fingers tightened on the chair. I looked down at my camera because otherwise I would look at the wrong thing too, obviously. Clara smiled again. You know how these things go. If people see too much, they remember too much. The room went cold. There it was. Not the whole wound, but the edge of it. Vivienne's voice was calm. You can leave. Clara laughed softly. I am on the foundation board. This is my theater? And yet, somehow still not your strongest performance? I lifted my eyes. Vivienne had gone very still. That sentence hit her. Not because it was clever, because it had been used before. I knew that without knowing how. Clara glanced at me. Take the photos from the left. It's her better side. That was when I took the first picture. Not of Vivienne, of Clara. Her head turned, her smile half open, her cruelty caught in the exact second, before it dressed itself as concern. Click. Clara looked at me. Vivienne looked at me too, for different reasons. I lowered the camera. Sorry. Testing the light. Clara's smile vanished. Vivienne's did not appear. But something moved behind her eyes, something almost alive. Clara stepped closer. I don't think you understand the room you are in. I looked around. Old cinema, great acoustics, very tense. Vivienne made the smallest sound, not a laugh, not yet, but close enough. Clara heard it. That made her angrier. Vivienne, control your photographer. Vivienne finally turned her head. She is not mine. Then she looked at me. Not yet. I should not have liked that. I absolutely liked that. Clara stared between us. For one sharp second, the room felt like a match had been struck. Then Vivienne said, leave. This time it was not calm. It was quiet. That was worse. Clara held her gaze for a moment. Then she turned and walked out. The door closed behind her. The silence afterward had weight. Vivienne did not move for 10 full seconds. Then she said, delete that. I looked at the camera. The test shot? You know which shot? I do. Delete it. It's a good photo. Her eyes snapped to mine. It is a cruel photo. No, I said. It is an accurate one. She stepped toward me. The lamp made her shadow stretch across the carpet. You think accuracy is kind? No. Then delete it. I should have. This was not my fight. I had been hired for a clean portrait, one usable image. No scandal, no emotion, no battle with a rich ex-wife in an old theater. But Vittoria's voice was still in my head. Do not let her control every frame. I looked at Vivienne. Do you want it deleted because it shows Clara being cruel? Her jaw tightened. Or because it shows you letting her? That was the wrong question, which meant it was probably the right one. Vivienne turned away. Set up by the screen. Professional voice. Subject closed. Door locked. I exhaled slowly. Then I set up by the screen. The official shoot lasted 23 minutes and failed beautifully. Vivienne knew exactly how to be photographed badly. That was the strange part. She did not sabotage me in obvious ways. She did not complain about the light. She did not demand impossible angles. She simply gave me nothing. Every pose was perfect. Every image was dead. She stood under the screen in black silk and red lipstick, chin lifted, eyes empty, and became the public version of herself with terrifying skill. Click. Nothing. Click. Beautiful nothing. Click. Expensive nothing. I lowered the camera. She looked at me. What? This isn't you. Her mouth curved without warmth. You don't know me. No. Then don't make lazy claims. I almost smiled. That was better. At least anger had blood in it. I know when someone is posing for a person who isn't in the room. That landed. Her eyes changed. Be careful. Everyone keeps telling me that. Perhaps you should listen. I usually do. Right after I ignore them. For 1 second, her mouth almost softened. Then she looked away. Take the shot. I have taken 27. Then take one that works. You have to be in it first. She turned back. The silence after that was sharp. Miss Voss. Miss Hart. You were hired to photograph me, not fix me. Good. I'm not qualified. Then stop talking. Stop disappearing. Her face went still. There. That was the second crack. Not the shaking hands, not Clara. This. The moment someone said the thing she had built an entire theater to avoid hearing. Vivienne walked past me toward the aisle. For a second, I thought she was leaving. Instead, she stopped at the side wall and pressed a switch. The big screen flickered. Old film grain appeared. A woman's face filled the room. Vivienne's face. Much younger. No red lipstick. No armor. Hair wet. Eyes bright. Laughing at something off camera. It was not from one of her films. It was too private, too messy, too real. Vivienne stood below it, small in front of herself. This is what they want, she said. Who? Everyone. Her voice was flat. The comeback. The myth. The tragic woman who survived herself. I looked from the young face on the screen to the woman standing under it. And what do you want? She laughed once. It was not amused. I want people to stop asking, that like they will enjoy the answer. I lowered the camera. Try me. Vivienne looked at me for a long time. Then she said, no face. I waited. No close portrait. No soft redemption shot. No brave survivor. No woman reborn. What then? She turned toward the screen. Photograph the room. The room? Yes. With you in it? Her throat moved. Yes. That was the first time she asked. Not clearly, not sweetly, but she asked. I raised the camera. She stood in the aisle below her younger face, her back to me, one hand resting on the velvet seat beside her. Click. Not enough. She turned slightly. Click. Closer. Her profile caught the light. Click. She flinched at the sound. I noticed. She noticed that I noticed. Stop looking at me like that, she said. Like what? Like you are waiting for permission to be gentle. I lowered the camera. Are you giving it? No. Then I'll wait. The old film continued behind her. Young Vivienne laughed silently on the screen. Present Vivienne stood under that laughter like it was weather. After a moment, she said, Clara shot that. I did not speak. She used to film everything. Rehearsals, hotels, cars. Me half asleep, me angry, me crying. She said it was because I was most beautiful when I forgot myself. Her voice did not break. That made it worse. Then the video leaked. I looked at the screen. The younger Vivienne disappeared into static for 1 second, then returned. Was it her? Vivienne smiled. A small, awful thing. Does it matter? Yes. She looked at me then. It was the first time she seemed genuinely surprised. Yes, I said again. It matters. Her eyes shone under the projector light. She looked away first. They told me, proving it would make me look obsessive. Who did? Lawyers, publicists, Friends who liked access more than truth. I hated that sentence. I hated how many women could say some version of it. Vivienne reached for the switch. The screen went blank. The room returned. Older, darker, quieter. She turned to me. Now you understand why I said no face. I understand why you said it. That is not the same. No. The corner of her mouth moved. Not a smile. A warning losing strength. Then she looked at the door. There is another room. Of course there was. There was always another room. With Vittoria's clients, the official room was never the real one. Vivienne walked toward a side door near the screen. I followed her down a narrow passage that smelled like old carpet and electricity. We passed shelves of film canisters, stacked chairs, rolled posters, a cracked mirror turned toward the wall. She opened a small black door. Inside was a private projection booth. Low ceiling, 2 chairs, a small console, a narrow window looking out over the screening room, 1 amber lamp, dust in the light like tiny, slow sparks. On the console was a framed photograph turned face down. Vivienne saw me notice it. Don't, she said. I wasn't touching it. You were thinking about touching it. That is different. Not to me. She stood by the projection window with her arms folded. The room was too small for all her control. It pressed around her, made her human by force. I set my camera bag down. You brought me here for a reason. I brought you here because the light is worse. That is not a reason. It is for me. I looked at the amber lamp, the narrow glass, the reflection of her face half visible in the projection window. The light is honest, I said. No. The theater light makes you look like Vivienne Hart. And this makes you look like someone who has been alone too long. She closed her eyes, only for 1 second. Click. Her eyes opened. I had taken the picture. She stared at me. I held the camera down. You can tell me to delete it. I know. You can tell me to leave. I know. You can call Vittoria and make sure I never work again. That almost got a smile. Almost. What would Vittoria say? Probably that I should have charged more. This time, Vivienne did laugh. Small, real, gone quickly. Click. Her hand flew up. You did not. I did. You are very irritating. I've been told. By women who liked you. Eventually. The laugh stayed longer this time. Not much, but enough. The room changed. Vivienne looked down at the turned photograph on the console. Then she picked it up. Not quickly, not dramatically. She held it against her chest for a moment before turning it around. It showed her years earlier with another woman, Clara. Both younger, both laughing. Vivienne's face was open in a way the world had not seen since. The photo hurt to look at, not because it was sad, because it had once been happy. That was the last photo I liked, she said. Why? Because I did not know yet. What? That being seen by the wrong person can become evidence against you. I felt that in my chest, not because I had lived her exact story, but because Dahlia Voss knew a few things about hiding behind a camera, and because Vittoria, with her folders and locked doors and controlled eyes, had taught me that powerful women often built fortresses out of old betrayals and called them taste. Vivienne placed the photo on the console, face up this time. Progress, small, real. I lifted the camera. She shook her head. No, not your face. What then? The photo, your hand beside it. She looked at me like she wanted to refuse. Then she placed her hand near the frame. Her fingers were still shaking. Click. She looked at the image on my camera. This time she came closer. Her shoulder brushed mine. Barely. She smelled like iris, smoke, and something expensive enough to be quiet about it. "Show me," she said. I turned the screen. She leaned in. The image was simple. Her hand beside the old photograph, the red nail polish, the faint tremor, the younger version of herself laughing beside the woman who would later become the reason she stopped laughing on camera. Vivienne stared at it. "That is cruel," she said. "No. What is it then?" "Proof that you are still here." She looked at me. Too close, too sharp. "That is a very dangerous thing to say to a woman in a locked projection booth." "The door isn't locked." "No." A pause. "Not yet." I should have said something clever. I had nothing. Vivienne stepped away first. "Good. I needed air." She walked to the door, then stopped. "Take one more." I lifted my eyes. She did not turn around. "Of what?" "Me." "With your face?" A long silence. Then, "Yes." That was the real assignment. Not the foundation portrait. Not the comeback campaign. Not the safe image Vittoria could place neatly in a folder. This, Vivienne Hart in a projection booth too small for her myth, asking a photographer she had met less than an hour ago to do the one thing she had refused for 7 years. I did not move fast. Fast would have ruined it. I lifted the camera slowly. She turned toward me. At first, she tried to arrange herself. She failed. Good. Her hair had slipped slightly out of place. Her lipstick was still perfect, but her mouth was not. Her eyes were tired, angry, scared, alive. I looked through the viewfinder, then lowered the camera. She stiffened. "What?" "Not like that." Her voice sharpened. "I gave you what you wanted." "No, you gave me permission. That is not the same as giving me you." The silence after that could have broken glass. Then Vivienne walked toward me. One step, another, until the camera was between us. She touched the lens. Not my hand. The lens. "Tell me what you see," she said. I swallowed. "I see someone who thinks being watched means being taken." Her fingers tightened around the lens. "And?" "Someone who learned to survive by becoming impossible to steal." Her eyes did not move from mine. "And?" "And someone who is tired." That was the one. Not beautiful, not brave, tired. Her face changed. The smallest collapse. The most honest one. I raised the camera. Click. Vivienne closed her eyes. Click. When she opened them, she was still looking at me. Click. That was the portrait. I knew before I checked. She knew because I stopped breathing. "Show me," she said. I turned the camera. She looked. The room went silent around us. In the photo, Vivienne did not look young. She did not look healed. She did not look like a headline. She looked like a woman who had been carrying herself for too long and had finally allowed one person to see the weight. Her mouth parted. Once. No sound came out. Then she said, "I hate it." I waited. Her thumb touched the edge of the screen. "I hate that it looks like me." I smiled softly. "That is usually the problem with a good portrait." She gave me a look. "Do not be charming." I wasn't. "You were trying." "A little?" Her mouth moved. "Almost." Then she looked at the photo again. "Do not send this to the foundation." "I won't." "Do not send it to Clara." "I would rather throw myself into traffic." That got a real smile. Small, fast, but real. "Do not send it to Vittoria," she said. That one was different. I lowered the camera. "Why?" Vivienne looked through the projection window toward the blank screen outside. "Because Vittoria collects doors." I went still. "What does that mean?" Vivienne's eyes returned to mine. "It means she sent you here because she knew exactly which room I would bring you to." I did not like how that felt. Not because it surprised me, because it did not. Victoria was everywhere in this story and nowhere in the room. That was her talent. Vivienne stepped closer again. Does she do that often? What? Send you to women she understands too well. I did not answer. Vivienne watched my face. Then her smile became almost kind. Oh, she said. I hated that. What? You don't know whether she is giving you assignments or warnings. I looked away. The projection booth suddenly felt too small for me, too. Vivienne touched the old photograph on the console. Careful with women who arrange your courage for you. I looked back at her. Is that advice? No? What is it? Something I wish someone had said to me before I mistook being chosen for being safe. The room went quiet again. Not romantic quiet, real quiet. The kind where two women stop performing long enough to recognize the same bruise in different places. Then Vivienne reached past me and opened the door. The hallway outside looked darker now. Come, she said. I smiled despite myself. Do all powerful women learn that word in the same school? She looked back. No. A pause. We teach it. I followed her back into the screening room. The big screen was still blank. The lamp still burned near the front row. Vivienne walked to the center aisle and stood facing the empty seats. For the first time, she looked nervous in a way she did not bother to hide. Take the official portrait here, she said. Face? Yes. For the foundation? Yes. And for yourself? She looked at me over her shoulder. That depends how good you are. There she was. Not healed, not soft, not suddenly easy, just present. I raised the camera. Look at the screen. She did. Click. Now the seats. Click. Now me. She turned. Click. The official portrait happened on the fourth shot. Vivienne Hart, standing alone in the aisle of the theater she bought after the world stole her worst moment, looking directly into the camera like she had finally decided the lens did not get to own her. It was beautiful, not safe. Better. I lowered the camera. She walked toward me. This time, she did ask to see. I showed her. She stared at the image, then breathed out once. That one, she said. For the foundation? Yes. She looked at the camera again. And the other one? The private one? Her eyes lifted. Yes. I held the camera between us. That one stays with you. For how long? As long as you want it. Vivienne looked at me in a way that made the theater feel even emptier. Then she said very quietly, "Stay until I believe you." That was not a kiss. It was not a confession. It was more honest than either. Because Vivienne Hart was not asking to be desired. She was asking to be believed. I lowered the camera. All right. The theater lights dimmed. The blank screen turned silver. Vivienne sat beside me in the front row, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. Far enough that the space between us still had to be chosen. After a long time, she said, "Do you think Victoria knew?" "Yes." "Do you hate that?" "Sometimes." "And other times?" I looked at the white screen, at our faint reflections inside it. Other times, I think she knows exactly which doors I would open, even if she never gave me the key. Vivienne was quiet. Then she said, "That sounds dangerous." "It is." "Do you like dangerous women, Dahlia Voss?" I should have lied. I did not. "Yes." Vivienne smiled at the screen. Not at me, but I saw it. "Then take one more." I turned toward her. Her eyes were still on the empty screen. "No face?" I asked. This time her smile stayed. "No." This time I want to see what I look like when I stop running from it. So I lifted the camera. And for the first time all afternoon, Vivienne Hart did not hide from the frame.